What is the longest interstate in the US? Is it A. Interstate 40 running from California to North Carolina, B. I-80 connecting San Francisco with the New York metropolitan area, or C. Interstate 90 stretching from Seattle all the way to Boston? Well, you were wrong if you choose I-40, but honestly, it's hard to tell if you're not seeing the map and numbers. I-40 is the third longest interstate highway in the United States, and some even call it the most boring interstate in the system. It begins in Barstow, California, right in the middle of the Mojave Desert. From there, it travels east across Arizona and New Mexico, through cities including Flagstaff, Albuquerque, and Amarillo. It then continues through Oklahoma City, Little Rock, Memphis, and Nashville, before crossing the Appalachian Mountains and eventually reaching Wilmington, North Carolina. The complete route is around 2,556 miles or 4,114 kilometers long. Even though it traverses some of the flattest landscapes in America along its route, it has definitely some highlights, if you want to call it like that. Near Barstow, the highway runs through an extremely dry desert. In Arizona, it passes not far south of the Grand Canyon and reaches elevations where snowstorms can completely shut down the road. Farther east, it crosses the Great Plains, the Mississippi River, and forested mountains of Tennessee and North Carolina. Large parts of its western section also replace the function of historic Route 66. But despite crossing almost the entire country, it does not really go coast to coast. Its western endpoint is around 2 hours inland from LA. Still, at more than 2,500 miles, this is already a really long highway, and number 3 on the list. The second place is around 350 miles longer. You were very close if you selected Interstate 80. Interstate 80 runs for approximately 2,900 miles, or about 4,670 kilometers. Its western endpoint is in San Francisco, close to the Bay Bridge, near downtown. From there, it crosses California's Central Valley, climbs through the Sierra Nevada, and passes Reno before entering the enormous open landscapes of Nevada. The road then crosses the Great Salt Lake Desert on an extremely long straight section through the Salt Flats, how we found out in the last What Is episode. It then passes Salt Lake City and continues through the mountains and high plains of Wyoming. East of the Rockies, it runs across Nebraska and Iowa before reaching the Chicago metropolitan area. Fun fact, from Chicago to Cleveland, it shares its route with our number 1 on the list, on the Indiana Toll Road and Ohio Turnpike. It then crosses Pennsylvania, ending in Teaneck, New Jersey, just before the George Washington Bridge into New York City. That means the interstate itself technically does not enter Manhattan. Interstate 80 was also the first transcontinental interstate highway to be completed. The final section opened near Salt Lake City in August 1986, creating a continuous freeway between the San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge and the George Washington Bridge. So for a few years, Interstate 80 could reasonably call itself the longest completed freeway in the world. But it is not America's longest interstate today, as we find out soon. Have you ever driven these interstates? How is it? One of my life goals is definitely to do a US road trip from coast to coast. So, but before we reveal number 1, here are 3 honorable mentions. I-10 is around 2,460 miles long, connecting LA, California with Jacksonville, Florida. Along its way, it crosses the southern United States through cities including Phoenix, San Antonio, Houston, and New Orleans. I-70 covers approximately 2,150 miles, running from Cove Fort, Utah to Baltimore, Maryland. Its route crosses the Rockies before continuing through Denver, Kansas City, St. Louis, and Indianapolis. And my favorite interstate, I-95, the longest north to south freeway, stretches for around 1,970 miles from Miami, Florida to the Canadian border in Maine. It follows the densely populated East Coast through Washington, Philadelphia, New York, and Boston. Let me know if you want to see a video about I-95 at some point. Just fascinating stuff. But now it's time for number 1. And if your brain can remember 3 things for about 5 minutes, you would know number 1. I personally would have forgotten everything already. Anyway, you were right and have to give the video a like if you choose I-90. This is the longest interstate highway in the United States. It stretches for around 3,100 miles or almost 5,000 kilometers between Seattle, Washington and Boston, Massachusetts, and crosses 13 states. Starting in Seattle, the highway crosses Lake Washington and climbs through the Cascade Mountains. It then travels through the open landscapes and mountain valleys of the Northwest, passing Spokane before crossing northern Idaho and Montana. From there, I-90 continues through the Great Plains and the upper Midwest, passing near cities including Rapid City, Sioux Falls and Madison. The route then reaches Chicago, the largest city along the entire highway. East of Chicago, it crosses the first part of the Great Lakes on the same route as I-80 and then continues through Cleveland and Buffalo before New York State through Rochester, Syracuse and Albany. Finally, it crosses western Massachusetts and enters Boston, where it ends near Logan International Airport and the Atlantic coast. There are also a few unusual facts along the route. Near Seattle, I-90 crosses Lake Washington on 2 enormous floating bridges. In Wallace, Idaho, the final traffic light between Seattle and Boston was removed in 1991. The town even held a ceremonial funeral for it. Quite funny if you're asking me. Around Chicago, I-90 includes reversible express lanes that change direction depending on traffic demand. And in Boston, the final section runs through tunnels beneath the city before ending close to the Atlantic Ocean. Even without long stops, driving the complete route would take nearly 2 full days. Realistically, you would probably need at least 4 or 5 if you don't want your ass starting to hurt. And with approximately 3,100 miles between Seattle and Boston, I-90 is clearly the longest interstate highway in America. However, it's not technically the longest numbered road in the US. That title belongs to US Route 20, which covers around 3,365 miles between Boston and Newport, Oregon. But unlike I-90, US 20 is not one continuous controlled access freeway. So let me know, how many of these highways have you traveled on? Thank you so much anyway for your support on the last one, and if you want to watch it, here we go. Servus.